First is first, 303-666-9020. I'm gonna try to stand a little bit away from this, explain why I'm leaving that washer on just for a moment. I'm washing these because our other pad's dirty. And we have, this thing is a pain in the ass to get going. So it may be dirty on this other side. I already cleaned it, but obviously it's sitting on the wood and it's had a little mud on it. So once I flip it down, I'll turn that thing off so it won't be so noisy. In the meantime, this is a late tub, so it's gonna have, it would have had the handles paddle style. So you're looking at 82 to 86, I believe. Yes, you can use on 76 to 81. The main difference on those guys is going to be the doors that you're able to use without doing some modifications. This is not an A grade tub, okay? This is a lower grade tub. I was hoping it was going to be a B, and if it was just based off of rust, I would still be saying grading this as that. But and because it is fairly clean, surprisingly, it looks a little bit worse than it is. It has a little bit of rust in it, but it doesn't have a lot of it. And the main issue that I'm downgrading it to a C is because it's been modified. They've cut some things on it, and unfortunately we bought this in mid-project from the guy, along with a few other things, so I don't know why they did what they did. It does not look like they were chasing rust. It looks like they were trying to clearance things for maybe a different drivetrain or even a different frame, but again, I would be lying if I told you exactly why. The other thing, they've cut the fender wells openings to accommodate big wheels. So the last time I had one of these that actually was not even half as clean as this tub was, it sold for somebody who was wanting to build a CJ7 specific rock crawler or four-wheel, you know, mainly like an off-road thing. Now, that may be you, or you may say, hey, I'm a heck of a body guy, and I can work with this. I don't want to spend what you want for a grade A tub, which I think we have one down here on this end, so we'll get to that after I get those washed. But for now, focusing on this one, CJ7, okay? And I'll get up close, but again, for the moment, you're gonna hear some racket with that washer until I get outside. I'll try to make it a little quicker than I normally do on these, while still showing you everything that you're gonna wanna see on it as far as the video goes. So, without further ado, let's take a look. Start right here at the back end. This is a torque pocket. Normally it's solid all the way across. Again, they had this cut, and I can only assume they were accommodating maybe a larger fuel tank, because those sit about here. The good news with this is that wouldn't be too hard to fix. You can see right where they cut the box out of it here. And the main area that you want to make sure is this guy and this guy, which is what holds your frame down. So those are both in good shape. The next two, we've got, remember, 10 total frame to body mounts, okay? The next guy is here and here. And both of those got going clean thread. Surprisingly, this back trunk area, or whatever you want to call it, is very clean, very straight, and other than some liner and maybe some mud that I couldn't quite get off, is pretty solid. I don't think there's hardly any rust in this thing that I could come up with. Even the seams, like I always show people, these seams, these love to start infiltrating with rust. You got some liner, this is all factory shit that they put on it, and most of this will come off, and you can take a scalpel and just, you know, putty knife and just kind of work this off. It comes off pretty easy, okay? This is solid. Surprisingly, there's no rust here. There's some bends, you know, again, this is what reasons that I'm discounting this tub. They did cut, they modified this probably to fit bigger wheels in it. I don't know the difficulty on replacing that. I would imagine you'd reskirt the sides. Same thing down here, okay? Nice and solid. This is always an area these CJs like to rust in, okay? This one's clean, solid, nice. They got a cut here, and it's not a perfect cut. I mean, whoever was doing this, you know, it's okay, it's not bad, but it's not great either. So the corners are solid as far as rust is concerned. So it's got a lot of good things going for it, but it's also beat up. And by no means I want you to think, or I'm representing it in any way that I'm not, because the torque pockets are really solid, okay? They're bent, they're a little kinked and bent a little bit, so you definitely want to get those straightened back out. This one here, broken bolt, but we left it in there. You can get in there and extract that guy. This one has been reinforced, which actually you should do anyway. This one didn't do a very good job of it, but it's nice and clean, it's got good threads there. floorboard, passenger side, it's solid. It's got a little bit of oxidation, a little surface on it, but no cancer in this floor. And it's an original floor. So, you know, this is one of those areas that was kind of weird. They cut this out, which makes no sense because that doesn't do anything. The only thing I can think of is they were trying to clearance something here for a bigger transmission, possibly, or transfer case. So, okay, there's your another broken bolt. Again, you can get into these. These are supposed to move around. They float. And this one's easy enough to fix because you can get in it from the side here. Okay? And then that guy there, broken bolt, so that's an extracting one. Again, these are all reasons I'm discounting this cup down to save you some money. The skirting is beat up, okay? But it's clean. It's got this obviously with a purple Jeep at one time, or red Jeep. It's like red, it's multiple colors. I don't even know what color. Because it's got had a liner on the inside. And thank God whoever did the liner did it because it helped preserve it, but they didn't do a great job, which is great because it will come off, and I've got a lot of it off, so I don't usually like liners. But again, driver's side floorboard, it's all original, all solid, a little bit of surface, but no holes in it, okay? You're not gonna have to mess with that at all. And I did exactly what I didn't want to do, which is, I didn't photo this before I started. I just did the same thing on that other one. I liked the photo before, then I can put it down on side and give somebody just in case, because sometimes photos, it's hard to stop a video. I love videos. We recommend doing them, and I always recommend buying them that way. But okay, corners are dinged up. All right, they got a good ding there. It's oxidized. There's no cancer in it, but it definitely dinged. Now the good news is whether you replace it or not, that's up to you. But you have access to beat that back out, or if you're going to be putting armor on, I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, tail lights have been cut out for the round, kind of the old school style, and then fuel filler neck. Okay, that's what was here, and that looks like it's slightly modified as well. All right, so again, the lower rockers, and I'll show you the bottom here in a second. All right, so more or less than anything, it's just banged up down through. And they had big rocker guards on these, which actually cost. They were nice, but they were homemade, so I just threw them away or scrapped them. So if you want those, you can call me. You have to call me sooner or later because those are going to go out for scrap next week. All right, let's see. I think I'm there. So let's put it down. That way I can turn off this pressure washer, and I'll wash it if I have to. One last time. I got to put the phone down before this lands on my foot. So hang on. Wash it, or that was just noise for no reason. Yeah, let me spray it down real quick. Now, that thing's running tip top, which probably a little bit underperforming right now. Still putting out about 4,000 PSI and a ton of heat. So that allows us to kind of get in here. Not a sandblaster, but. So, floors, as you've seen from the bottom, not bad. Even from the top side, you're not seeing the normal rot that you see in a lot of CJs. So if you're fighting rot on your tub, and again, maybe we don't have any more, because the grade A's are going to get listed here in a day or two once they get caught up. And they don't last. I already have a few people on the list. So if you call, I may not have it, but I might offer you this one still. Depending on what you're wanting. You know, if you tell me you're wanting perfect, I'm not going to even waste your time. You know, but if you tell me, hey, I have a rust issue, fighting rust, this one would not be a bad one, especially if your sides are good and you didn't mind swapping some of that stuff over, because it's got a really solid floor with a couple things, as you've seen at the bottom. The liner on the bottom, so now I'm thinking, okay, this is a yellow tub, has purple bottom with some red showing through, black liner, has some red. All right, so it's likely was a red tub to begin with, but it's really hard to say. One reason I say red is because I see a couple of the lines up in there before they primered it. Some of the things were red, so I'm gonna go with it. It probably was a red tub, and then they coated it. Normally I don't like liners, and really I don't like them, period. But this one will come off. I've gotten most of this speckled. This was all black when I started. I just didn't spend a ton of time on it because I usually don't unless the tub is absolutely beautiful, and then I'll work on getting it off. If you want us to do that, by all means, we can work something out, and I'll spend the day that it'll probably take to go through this thing with that Hotsy and get off most of that. Although, if you're gonna go to that extent, I just take it in and get it sandblasted, because that stuff will come right off with some grit, some grit, whatever they call that, abrasive. And I'd go that way. Anyway, again, those guys there, this area where the roll bar comes down is usually the area that these things rust on the bottoms. And then of course your floorboards, which again, you got a little surface, but because of that liner they put on, and even though it's peeling now, I mean, look at this, it's just coming off in big flakes. It protected this pretty well. You've seen the bottom, you've seen the top now, and this does not need to be replaced. This is a solid floor. Clean it up if you wanted to. I mean, you probably want to, depending on where you're, especially if you have salt where you are, but clean it up, paint it, line it if you're gonna line it again, whatever. But definitely nice floors. Maybe even nice floors on some of our real high-end ones we've had that have had a little bit of surface that come in there. So that's why I like this tub. And if it was just up to that stuff, I'd still, like I said, still be getting like a B, but you'll save some money. Look at this, it really, literally is just peeling right off. It probably was not applied right. But it's been on there for a long time, so I mean, who knows? It might just be years of use on it. Okay, but it's coming off pretty easily. And of course, I'm causing a ton of mud in here now with my shoes being muddy. So, all right, I don't think there's much I can tell you about the back or the front, other than what you're already seeing, what you've seen. There was some big old C channels that were mounted. That's what you're seeing across there and across there. And all I can think of, again, not knowing exactly what was on this thing, is they had the seat mounted there, because the CJ7 original seats do have brackets that kind of mimic what I pulled out of here. This was obviously just a hasty version of it, but nonetheless, okay. And it did cause a little bit, and that's that bar that we looked at the bottom. That's what this follows, okay. And there's a little bit of a crack here that you'd want to get welded back up. This is pretty common to see cracks in the rear of these CJ7s, but I truly believe this one was probably caused by the fact that they did not support that any other place. And the original ones have feet that kind of come out of an angle, so there's more displacement as far as the weight goes, especially at the back area where, you're kind of, as you're going, it's kind of working itself down. Same thing, you got a little bit there, you can kind of see as I push on it. So same almost exact place. So definitely would want to get in there, and I would just, a good welder can fix this. We have one here, but we don't do a lot of this work because we're so backed up right now. Okay, and then the bolts, stud heads there, just knock them through, and you'll be done with that. All right, I think that takes care of for the inside. So if we were just grading it off with the bottom here, this would get a solid B, even a high B grade. But with the dings and dents on the corners, with the wheel wells being cut out, those are my reasons for going down to a C grade. Top of the cowling, beautiful. Okay, might have a little pushed in right here from when they had something sitting on it. That one looks okay, but this one definitely has a little dimple here. Good news is, again, I always like to show, can you get into it and have access to it? And yeah, perfect access to this guy, okay? If you guys need anything else on CJs, this is a good time to call us, because we've parted a whole bunch of CJs out recently. We got heater boxes, fresh air intakes, seats, windshield frames. We got a lot of good stuff right now. And that stuff does not last, just like these tubs. So this is an area that loves to rust on these things. Top of the cowling, okay? Usually when this is bad, you have to replace the whole section, which is literally whole top. And I think I even have a clean one of those if somebody needed one. But this one is beautiful. I wouldn't mess with this one. Just clean it up a little bit. Obviously, you've seen me blasting it. I was trying to hit that pretty hard to see if I could get any of that out of there. It just kind of bubbled up in those areas. Let's get down close to those guys now, and we'll show you this firewall in just a second, okay? So, not too bad. Just kind of, again, It's kind of bubbled up a little bit there. Not as bad as I was actually kind of pointing. This one's definitely got a little bit in there. But again, it's all solid. It's got a little bit of Bondo in there. But it's hard to say Bondo on tubs because when it's thin like this, they did a lot of leveling on these out of the factory. Like literally they get shipped to dealerships and take them right to body shops just to get kind of the old, you used to see some of the spot welds and some of the stuff they did and people like that. So now it's kind of like a hidden treasure if you can find a CJ7 tub that hasn't been modified. I don't know if I have one down here to show you that's like that, but I might, so you can check out the other videos I put up in the next day or so. Okay, but nonetheless, this is what we're going after here. So lower lip there, again, you gotta remember there was a big, matter of fact, I'll walk over there and show you. A big piece of like Dove, they call them boat sides. Essentially, they just protect the rocker when you're wheeling them. And that was here. And what probably happened is it just trapped sand and that just became abrasive, and then they finally, but looking from the back side, even this side, this is another area, even on our early YJs, it loves to rust out here. These are pretty solid. It's got a little bit of dings down here. Look at the floor's a little pushed up here and here, but it's all solid there, even on that side. So, got a little scratch ding there. Okay, in that back area, a little dinged up again, that lower rocker. But if you're gonna be putting on rocker guards or something, then I just clean it up, sand it, get as much of it as out you can. Plate it if you want, but definitely get some protective something on it or another, okay? I think I'm gonna have to quickly do this because I got another couple videos I gotta do, not run out of light, but all right, there's that. You can just see that little dimple right there in it that I showed you. And no, that one looks great there. So the rest of it's good. Firewall, okay, this looks all pretty good. It's maybe pushed in. Looks like somebody backed into it a little bit there. Little ding there. Not too bad though. That should be able to be popped out pretty easily. Heater box is where that mounts. This is where all these holes are. Most of these are probably factory heater cores and stuff, but who knows? They may have modified a few of these. So just keep that in mind. You might be filling in a few of those. All the holes for your fenders are actually there, not broken. Surprisingly, these ones always break on these things, even a clean tub. Oh, that one's good too. So yeah, the firewall is actually in pretty good shape. Brake booster, that's where your wiring harness goes, your bulkhead, and then you've got your steering column that comes through that guy. And then again, most of these are for heater box related, and I think this is your fresh air intake here. It's a drain that drops here, comes out of it. So most of all this is all factory. All right, antenna of course there, and then I think I showed you this stuff, but we'll just get you another close up down through here, and you can see that's dimpled out there. It got pushed out, so that would, I'd bang that one back down, probably not do too much to it, but I definitely get it hammered back in there. And then looks like there might be a little bit of a ridge there. It's kind of hard to pick up, but it's easier to tell you this now than it show up on your porch and just be disappointed. And fortunately, after doing this for so long, I've never had that happen, which, knock on wood, but I think that a lot of that has to do with these videos. I've had guys contact us after the fact on lower grades, which we don't get a lot on the 7s, and say, hey, you know, I got into this thing and I'd like to go ahead and buy another tub that's an A grade if you can ever find one. So, and in some cases we've done that before as well. So it's always an option. We do guarantee everything we sell. The only issue with this stuff, and I just want to keep this in mind, especially you mentioned this on a lower grade tub, is that we can definitely help you with that stuff, but the shipping is where it gets expensive on these things, right? The freight, it's the hot shotting. So, you know, a tub can run you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get it out to your door, which is pretty reasonable considering these are so big. But, you know, that coming back and then out again, you could definitely be in it for a lot. Now, so you take it into a body shop, and this one I don't think would happen on just because it's not, you know, just depends on what you're doing with it, I guess. But, you know, they may look at you and go, it's going to cost 20 grand to fix a tub like this. Well, I know there's shops out there because we just had one get shipped to us from Chicago that was like that. The guy got quoted like $25,000 to fix his tub. And he called us and asked us how much it was to put a tub and a frame on his Jeep. And we don't do it all that often, but we were a little slow. And so, ship it to us, it's fine. So we quoted him out, and it was less than that. And that was including both the pieces he needed and the labor. by a long shot. So he's able to do some upgrades you wanted. Anyway, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Thanks for hanging out with me. TJ's up next, Black TJ here, 9701, followed by a CJ7, which hopefully is a if not an A, high B. We will see how that guy comes out. Actually, that one might be a, no, that looks like a CJ. I always can tell because the fuel filler on him. Okay, and then I think we got another CJ7. Let's see. Yep, that's another CJ7. So 2 CJ7s, oh, 3. So this is, I think, our premium one right here. And the rest of those, I believe, are YJs. So, but I'll get into them. I mean, the YJs and CJs are really hard to distinguish apart. And on that note, keep that in mind. You ever call, we don't have a CJ7 tub, which is pretty often. I might mention a YJ tub. I have videos out there showing the difference on the two. There's not a lot of difference. And dimensionally, they're almost, well, they are identical. So same length on the frames, okay? Tubs are the same, you know, 65, 100, I don't really remember off the top of my head, but it's, you know, they're identical on that note. So, all right, thank you. I appreciate all the patience getting these up this week, get these things loaded on the site, pushed out to the people who've been calling and waiting on them. And again, I appreciate everything. We were a little bit backed up. We let some people go this last week that just weren't cutting it. And it's just my wife and I and Jerry. And then Kevin will come back first part of August. So, but lots and lots of work. Unfortunately, a lot of the other stuff in the yard wasn't getting done. And this is 7 acres out here with our upper and lower lot. It's a lot of work to do a yard this big and do just Jeeps like we do, because you got to catalog everything. So I appreciate everything, all the support and patience that you guys have given us. So, all right, good night.